Okay, we're going to try something here. I've been wanting to figure out how to get a block-off plate onto my EGR or EGR block-off plate, whatever. You can find a lot of them, but I can't find any that are for, this is an 81 CJ7 with a 258. And so I've seen one reference on Facebook to making your own. So that's what I'm going to try to do. I have the old one, and I'm going to go ahead and try to cut it up and see if I can't get it to make a plate out of it, because it actually has the right dimensions and also the right thickness so the bolts go in. These bolt holes, these are they don't pass through. So the bolts that I want to use that are original require a really thick base to work from, and I don't have any steel that thick right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and try to make it out of my current EGR valve. Okay, and there she is. So this is the original one, I think, or if it was replaced, it was a long time ago because it's pretty nasty. I tried to clean it up a little bit. But anyways, I want to make an EGR plate that will, out of this, again, it has obviously the exact profile I'm looking for. I have the gasket here for it. I thought about making it out of some steel, but also notice that how thick this is. The bolt does not go through. This is the bolt that I want to put in there. And yeah, I can just buy a new one, grade 5 bolt or something like that, and put it in there a little bit shorter so that it doesn't stick out at all. But I'm going to go ahead and try to cut this thing up. I'm thinking that if I just cut those 3 pieces right there and then cover up the hole, kind of see there's that piece right there that I think gets sucked in once the pressure. So it still works, or at least in that way it still works. But anyway, I'm going to see if I can't make a good plate out of this, because I think that would look pretty good. I could even powder coat that if I can get all that oil off there. Anyway, I'm going to give it a try. All right, we're going to give this a shot. One down, 2 to go. So a little piece there hanging on. I'm going to get that out with a screwdriver. So that pin just holds it in there. I think I just need to cut that pin. haven't. I think I just have to so that's what it cut off. And so I think I just need to pinch this and get that plunger out of there. So I'm just going to give this a quick pinch and see what happens. Well, looky there. I thought those would have been riveted in there or something, but these are just little T15 screws. So I happened to have one of these little bits here, little T15, 3 of these little screws, 1, 2, 3, and once you cut this out, this bracket comes right off there. So that kind of helps a little bit. I still have the pin in there. I got to figure out how to get that out of there and figure out how to plug some of this stuff up. Because the whole idea is that the air does not go from here, from the exhaust, and get up into the carburetor. So I need to get that pin out. That pin comes in and out. I could see a little light in there, so I may have to do something. Okay, with just a wee bit of battling off camera, I'm going to walk through. I was able to finally get this off. Ignore the screwdriver being jammed in there. I tried to punch it through and now it's a little bit stuck. But anyways, you can see the pin there and the plunger. Oh, before I forget, this did come off the back with the 3 screws, the little, was that T15 screws I said. With those that came off, this little, I guess it's a metal something or another. Anyways, it came off eventually. And then I had this in there and the plunger still wouldn't come out. I couldn't figure out how to get it. And then I noticed there were some little grooves here. They're a little mangled up right now, but there are a couple of little grooves right here you can put. If I had to hammer on a 9/16, I couldn't even get a metric wrench on there, but I had to hammer on a 9/16 with that little tiny lip right there. And I used my MAP gas and some PB Blaster and MAP gas again, and tapped it with the hammered on 9/16 wrench, and it finally did start to move. So essentially this is just a pipe thread that goes in there. So you can kind of see there, I don't even see any gaskets or anything, but that's the pipe thread that goes into the EGR valve. And that's what holds everything in. And that's why it wouldn't, and I can show you why it wouldn't then come out, is that here's the plunger. And again, ignore the piping that was stuck on my screwdriver there. But anyways, this wouldn't come out through the back hole and it wouldn't come out through the top because that's getting stopped right there. So that's what's happening. That's what that seal looks like behind this, is I guess that goes right up against there. I probably burnt off any rubber, if there was any rubber there holding in the gasket, but that's what that plunger goes in from the back. Again, that's the back. And so that's what stops that up. And this is what you see from when you're opening it up. So you see that plunger going in and out. Anyway, I was able to get it off. I guess now the fun part is just figuring out. So here, this is what we have. I can cover up those 3 holes. Again, those holes go through. You can kind of see the light going through there. I can cover those up with this plate, or not this plate, and just put the screws back in. But essentially, have to cover up that passageway. So first thing I need to do is cover up that hole. I can probably thread something in there pretty easily and cover that up with just a really short steel plug or something. And then you got to figure out a way, because that's totally open in there. So I will probably put this back on, or actually I'll probably just try to find a pipe thread plug. That's what somebody mentioned on Facebook, and maybe that's what they were talking about, pulling this out and putting it there. I'm not quite sure what size this is. I'll add that to it. But I guess if you just put a plug right in there, as long as the outside parts of the bolt or the plug don't interfere with it going into the hole into the intake manifold, then that should work. Anyway, I will try to find out what that is, and I will add back onto this. Okay, here she is, finished product. A lot more effort than it would have been to just spend 10 or 15 bucks on a block off plate, but at least now I know that it fits. And like I said, I wasn't able to really find a mention of a block off plate. That there's probably some out there that fit, but every time I looked for a block off plate for the EGR there, it didn't mention the distance between these two bolt holes or how big it was, so I wasn't sure. Anyways, it worked out, I think, reasonably well. Those are the 3 screws that I mentioned a few minutes ago, and this piece was over it, but I decided not to powder coat it. I went ahead and cleaned this up and powder coated. I outgassed, sandblasted, then powder coated. I think it came out pretty well. And then I found this was an extra bolt I had. I could have just gotten a stainless steel or another type of bolt and put that in. It does have a lock washer and a regular washer on the back, a nut. I mean, on the backhand side, inside here, because these things are hollow. This is a 1/2 inch pipe thread. And I had to work it in there. I had to put this in my vise and work the brass fitting in there. The threads didn't want to let it go all the way through, but after working it a bunch, finally got to go through, because this needs to be, it's not exactly flush right now, so I kind of messed around with the gasket a little bit. It's going to be fine, because at least this part is sealed up. But you see there's a little bit of a lip. And because the hole that this goes into, which I'll show you in a second, is not big enough for this whole round part to fit in there. So again, this needs to be flush or darn near flush. You're gonna have to tighten it down. And that's as far as I get it to go, because it does bottom out, but it made it. Again, it's a 1/2 inch pipe thread plug. I have the original bolts here, and I'm gonna go ahead and show how it goes on. It's difficult to get a good angle on this, so I've kind of done the best I can with the camera. So again, this is going to go right over it, right like that. And then this, you can kind of see here, this got to fit in the hole, but the outside diameter does not fit. That's why it's got to be basically pretty much flush. But when I get the gasket on there, so the gasket's on there now. Hopefully you can see that. Then this goes right on top of there. Fits in there nice and snug. And I just have those 2 bolts, and I can put that right on there. Let me see if I can get a better angle. So there it is. That's what it's going to look like when I get it back on there. So I think mission accomplished. Again, that's a 1/2 inch pipe thread plug that goes in there, and that's really the only thing you need. If you have your original one and you can grind off that the valve piece and kind of dig at it a little bit, you can get that out and just turn this into an EGR block off plate. All right, hope that helps.